welcome. You're watching Vision Plus. You know, a lot of people around, all of the United States, maybe the world, have cancer or loved ones that have cancer. And we are so happy that you joined us because we're going to have an answer for you today to how to encourage your loved ones and yourself that have cancer. Now, as most of you know, we did a cancer, my daughter was here, she had cancer surgery in '06, February the 9th, '06, her birthday. It came back. I don't like that answer, but we need to help all of the people that have had cancer, and many that it's been remission. And I have a person here. We're in Los Angeles, California, and you just start out by telling us who you are. She's in 4th stage cancer at the moment, but wait till you see her attitude. So welcome to Vision Plus, a lady that has a vision, that's a good friend, Dr. Paula Fellingham of thewinonline.com. Tell us about yourself.
Okay, well, my name, first of all, is Delores Seright, and as Bonnie said, I am a breast cancer survivor who is no longer in remission. And I was first diagnosed with breast cancer 8 years ago, and that would have been around October, November of 2005. And at that point, I was already stage 3. I did have a mastectomy. And following the mastectomy, I made a decision that I really wanted to keep working, stay active, and my attitude was, don't have a pity party. Don't feel sorry for yourself, it happens, and life has to go on. And I made a choice that I wanted to live the best life that I could live, because I wanted to have giggle parties with my grandchildren, and I had so many things that I said, you know what? It's not my time to curl up in a ball and feel sorry for myself. And so that was 8 years ago, and I did. I went back to work like 3 weeks after my surgery and worked with my boss and said, you know what, I can do this. I can be out there. And I was a regional sales director, a regional business manager in the pharmaceutical industry. And it was a very, very fast-paced job. I was traveling every week, and
that's how you knew Gary.
Yes, it is.
Stair.
That's how I knew Gary Stair, through our. We were both peers and had the same job. He was also a regional business director. And so that year, it was really great because I did go through chemotherapy, and it was a pretty common sight, actually, Bonnie.
You said something about grandchildren, so you
did.
must have had a fun. Were you still together at that time?
Oh, yes, and we had so much fun together, but I would go to chemo and take my laptop with me and have a wireless internet connection, and so many people would get the bag of Benadryl and fall asleep, but Benadryl had the opposite effect on me. It was like I was busy.
Hyper.
And so I would work. So, you know, you give up a half a day for having chemo, and I would work on my laptop or be on conference calls. I mean, it's a big time commitment. Sure. That you make choices, and I decided for me that having chemotherapy was a choice that I was making that was going to be a good choice for my long-term health and the potential of the cancer not returning. So I went through chemotherapy. At the end of that, I also had to have radiation treatments, and those went on.
My daughter burned her twice.
It does, it burns, and I did that every day for, I think, like 7 weeks. You go in 5 days a week and get zapped, and then you go on. But I would schedule it. You know, I went in, did this 7 o'clock in the morning, and then I would go to the airport and pick up one of my managers, and we would have a business meeting and, you know, reviews, things like that. So I kept my region very much in the forefront of what I was doing. And my team was so awesome. They all pulled together, and that year we finished #1 in our division. So It was a
Whoa.
joint effort, but it was very good. And I think the part that I want to mention that is so important to me is your attitude is a key during all of this. Because is it fun? No, it's not fun.
Painful.
But there's pain associated with it. But you should learn, do your research and learn what your options are, because there are things out there that can help you as you go through it, and there's support people
What
that
are
you
the
can
things
pull
that
around
could help you?
I think knowing, and today with the internet, we can research and we can learn what our options are. So
What were some of your
things-
options?
My options were different options of chemotherapy, and I chose to do that because when the results came back during my surgery, they actually inject you before your mastectomy with a dye to see if the cancer has spread to your lymph nodes. And in my case, the answer was yes, it had. They removed 13, but they knew it had gone further than that. And then my oncology team and my surgical team said, we feel like we should let chemotherapy and radiation be your next step, because if we take more lymph nodes out, then you run the risk of having issues with the use of your arm. And you're still young, you're active, we don't want that to happen. So, and they knew at that point that it had already gone far enough that just taking my lymph nodes would not have made the difference. So my choice was, let's do the chemo, let's do the radiation, and we'll go from there, and I will learn healthy eating habits. I will learn to do the things like being around positive people, reading positive material, and just staying positive about my future. Learning to live enjoy every day. And so those were some of the things that I initially did. That was 8 years ago. And if you want to interrupt me and ask questions, or if you want me to talk, but that was 8 years ago.
I'm working on not crying, so if I could just
Yes.
keep myself professional and not cry, I will be
Well,
okay, because my daughter with the breast cancer, so go ahead.
I want your
You
daughter,
teach
your
my
daughter,
Uh-huh.
I want your daughter and other women who all of a sudden they think, okay, I've gotten past that 5-year mark, so I am a survivor. I've passed that, it's gone. I don't have to worry so much.
You did that.
8 years then,
She came back.
I went back and I had a blood test and I had a bone scan, or a CT scan, I guess. Just my oncologist wanted to double check something. And he said, it's come back. And he said,
That's what he told my daughter.
the bottom line is because it was in my spine and a spot on my liver, he said, you are stage 4. And what that means is there is not a cure. Now, I say that because that's what my doctor said to me, and I have a lot of confidence in him. And by the medical associations and the oncology standards,
Except
there
for the
is
healing from God,
not
the
a cure.
miracle.
But there are things that we have to do, and I believe miracles happen. And I also trust my oncologist to be at the forefront of what are the options as far as treatment. And there are many, there are so many options, Bonnie, depending on the type of cancer you have. There are clinical studies that you can go into, and you need to be
How do you find out
proactive.
about those clinical studies?
The
Delores?
internet is awesome, and I'm going to tell you, and I'm not 100% sure that I've got the website right, but I think it's clinicaltrials.org.
Do
But
you
if
have a
not, you
website?
do a Google. I do,
Okay,
and it's
it's
my
on-
name, DoloresSeright.com. DolorSeright.com. And I'm a
That's,
speaker.
are you also under the thewinonline.com? Are you?
I have an email there,
Okay,
but
just better to go
but
on.
you can find me on my own website. And I'm the author of a book, and I'm going to just digress just a moment because I think this ties in with the message. My book is titled Shattering Barriers, Amazing Women's Journeys to Personal Empowerment. And one of the things that I did in my book is I interviewed 26 women, and some of them had unbelievable obstacles to overcome in their life. And it almost makes
In
overcoming...
addition to the cancer.
These were not cancer patients.
Oh.
These were women. Women like you and me, women that any one of us can relate to. We're not talking women who were on the covers of Fortune magazine or, you know, the top executives out there. I wanted women that you and I and everybody in this audience could relate to and say, if she can do it, maybe I can do it. And I wanted to create that hope. So I interviewed women, and a couple examples. One, she's African American, she's beautiful. She has a 5th grade education. She was raised on the East Coast in a very dysfunctional family. She was abused, and today she is the
When you
owner
use the word
of...
abused, what do you mean? What
I'm
kinds?
talking about physical
Sexual.
abuse, sexual abuse, and being told you'll never be anything. And that is a terrible thing to do to a young person. She
But
has a
yet
5th
she
grade
now-
education,
What's
and
her
she
business
has
now?
4 businesses now.
4 businesses.
4 businesses, and she
What
has
kinds of
an
business?
attitude of, I can do anything, just let me have it, and I can do it. And that is the story that I want people to understand, is that
What are
no
her
matter
4
how...
businesses?
She does, she has a business where she installs and does windows for homes, and she has a couple different internet marketing businesses.
Whoa.
And I think she designs websites, so
Oh,
she's
great.
and she's self-taught. Another woman that I interviewed, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this piece of it, except I want you to understand that making choices and making good choices about your life and having an attitude of, I'm responsible for those choices and I'm going to go out and live every day and live that life that I really want to live, is so important. And so another woman I interviewed, someone said, you should talk to Christina. She has a really interesting story. And I called Christina and I interviewed her, and she gave me a great story about how she was way overweight and she was so shy she couldn't talk when she went to networking events, and she lost all this weight, and she had a successful networking.
No, that
one. One of her secrets, this is so fun, you'll love it, when she would go to a dinner or a networking event and they would order dessert, bring the dessert, she would take her glass of water and take one bite and pour water on her dessert. That way she wasn't tempted to eat the rest of her dessert. So there's a secret.
Great idea.
There's a secret. But
Now, I've
anyway,
actually given mine away, and then they always
That's a
love
good
that.
idea.
Yeah, just, you could see somebody's really digging in and say,
Right.
"Would you like my dessert?" Yeah, this is so good.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you can give it away or water.
so anyway, Christina
So she lost
Christina
a lot of
found
weight.
it. She did, and she told me that was her story, and I wrote the story for the book. And it was a good story, not maybe one of the best, but it was a good story. 6 months later, Christina called me and she said, I've made a decision and I'd like to sit down and talk to you. And the story Christina shared with me that day was the real story of Christina's success. Christina learned that she had this, what she thought was the perfect family. The husband, 2 children, she had a job, and life was awesome. And then one day, she and her husband were sitting around, Grandma had the kids, and they were having wine after dinner, and her husband brought something into the house and said, try this. And he shared with her that evening that he had been having affairs from almost day 1 of their marriage.
Oh,
And what he brought into the house was crystal meth.
oh,
And Christina became a serious crystal meth addict. She said, I would have taken anything to kill the pain. And she sunk to the depths that most of us in our lives cannot begin to imagine, to the point where her husband ended up in prison, her life was destroyed, and one night, in the middle of the night, the SWAT team was outside her home, and her children were saying, Mommy, is there a war? And she narrowly avoided going to prison because there were credit card fraud was happening in her home. She wasn't doing it, but she knew it was there. But she ended up not out of prison, or not going to prison. But after the second raid on her house, and the business expanded to Las Vegas, and she was lost in the haze of drugs and all of the things that went along with that, she had a policeman at the second arrest, a detective, who said, "This isn't you, you're better than this." And he let her go, and she went home, and she said, "God, thank you, I will never do drugs again." And that was a choice, and to this day, Christina is a successful, highly involved in all the activities of her community and highly respected, and she's one of the ones who made a choice to turn around her life. And that's what I want to encourage you to understand, is that you make choices.
And that's
you
what I
live
think
with those
about every one of our
choices.
viewers, that you're better than this. You don't deserve to go to the bottom, whether it's cancer or a cruel husband.
You're right. And Bonnie, it is like a punch in the gut when you hear you have stage 4 cancer. And I'm not going to gloss that over, because it's not a fun thing to hear. But life goes on, and life has to go on. And I look at myself and I say, Delores, you have 9 grandchildren who look up to you, and you want them to remember the fun times with you. And I want to share fun things with my children and with my husband. And so You're still with your things.
husband?
I'm absolutely with my husband. And
How's he handling all that?
My husband has been the rock, and his support has just been amazing through both rounds, through the first one and the surgeries. And when you take the bandages off the first time and you go and take that shower and you look in the mirror, and he just walked over and said, are you okay? And you're not, but you are, because you know that you have the support. And finding not just the husband, but the females that you can go to and say, if you need anything, a ride to the doctor, a cup of coffee, a conversation, call me. Build that support team around you, not the people who say, oh, how sad it is that you have stage 4 cancer. It's the people who say, I love what you're doing, and let's go do something fun. And you treasure every moment of every day, because they're precious. And it's not just, the other thing you have to remember is it's not just about you. It's about all of these people who love you and support you and want to be there, and let them in, because they're precious. Mm-hmm. They're precious.
And how did you meet Dr. Paula Bellingham?
I met Paula about 2 years ago, and Paula was doing a Global Women's Summit in Los Angeles, right here where we are today, this weekend. And I was launching my book, Shattering Barriers, and I was introduced by my coach at the time to Paula. She said, this is someone that you should meet. And Paula and I have become very close friends, and I work together with Paula with the win, because I love her vision of what she wants to do to help women empower other women. And that's what I see with Paula. She has this beautiful dream of women coming together to support women in all areas, not just in business, but in family and in personal relationships and in learning success skills, all of these things. She's building this for women to do globally, not just right here in one spot, but she's helping all of us think bigger.
Mm-hmm. And so, what do you talk about? Well, you say you talk a lot with her. What are some of the things that you and her are putting together?
Oh, we talk about our dreams, for one thing.
What are your dreams?
My dream is to share with Paula her vision of globally taking my message and hers to the world. I chat on Facebook with a young woman, and I say young, she's probably in her mid-40s, but she's young to me. And she lives in the slums of Kibera in Kenya, outside of Nairobi. And this woman, her name is Jane, and Jane is so feisty and so beautiful, and she lives in extreme poverty in the slums, and she fights to teach young women there that they can be more and do more and support each other. And so one of the things I think that Paula has opened my eyes to is that we can, one step at a time and one person at a time, have a major impact on our world. And that's one of the things we talk about, is how do we do this? How do we take that message out there so women everywhere say, I can live the life I want to live, and I just have to sometimes fight for it, oftentimes fight for it, but I can do it.
Delores, what's the name of your book, and how can anyone get your book?
My book is Shattering Barriers, and the subtitle is Amazing Women's Journeys to Personal Empowerment. And it's available through a link on my website, or it's also on Amazon.com.
And your website is?
Delores Seright, that's DOLORESSERIGHT.com. And it's available there.
So that book will help no matter what kinds of challenges that we're going through. The D's in life, I call them. They're familiar with that. D's being debt, despair, depression, drugs, drinking, all of those kinds of things, diarrhea, whatever it is that we go through. Well, I tell you what, you can't very well be on stage with that challenge.
True.
Yeah.
And it does. 26 women, 26 very different stories. And the women aged, they varied in age from a 15-year-old girl to someone who was over 70, who actually interviewed Eleanor Roosevelt and Mikhail Gorbachev. And she's kind of a pioneer woman up in Colorado. Beautiful story. And so the stories are fun, the lessons that go along with the stories, and some workshop type exercises that you can do to help you get you on the path to your dreams. And I also have a workbook that's available on Amazon, and it's called It's Your Life, Design It, Live It, Love It.
So that's kind of like Believe It.
Believe it, become it.
Become it, that
yes. Paula,
I have to quit crying now pretty soon because a lot of our other people are coming in just a few minutes. But again, Delores, in recapping your story, you learned that you had, how did you learn that you had cancer in the first place?
Well, I discovered a lump, and I had a history of fibrocystic breast disease, so lumps were not new to me. My first surgery, I was probably 24 years old, and back in those days, you didn't know whether you were coming out of surgery with a breast or not. It was very different than now. So I was a little, after many of them, I wasn't as quick as I should have been to get into the doctor's office because I was so busy with work and the schedules and so forth. So when I went in, obviously it was a little bit too late. It was already stage 3 breast cancer.
Metastasized.
And not then.
Not then.
Right.
What are they telling you now that it's stage 4 cancer?
They're telling me that it is stage 4, and my doctor says there's no cure, but he said there are so many treatment options, and he said we caught this early, and that you have a very good potential of living a lot of years, which is great to hear from an oncologist because frequently they talk in months.
Yeah, I got tickled at my daughter. She said that she went in the first time, just a routine checkup, yearly checkup. And he said, well, you have breast cancer and you need to get your affairs in order. And she said, affairs? I haven't had an affair. I've never had an affair. I've been divorced 8 years now. And she said, what's this about affairs? And so he had to explain to her, well, you know, your banking account, your all of these things. But anyway, so she got her affairs in order. and now she's still going. But she has a good attitude most of the time. It's just that when you hear it like the second or third time, just don't know if I can go through this again. Do you feel that way?
No, absolutely not. And I would encourage her and other viewers who might be facing the same challenge is treasure each day. Go out and have fun, because none of us know. You don't know.
Of course not.
Your plane might go down on the way home.
Almost.
So we
I got
don't
$2 million
know.
worth of insurance for if it does.
So live
So
each
my-
day
yeah.
and have fun and do the things that you want to do. You know, go out there and just say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to Spain for a month next year.
Really?
I have tickets already booked and I'm going. My oncologist is going to have to work his schedule and mine around my trip because I'm going.
Are you
And
going to
that's
be doing any of the Global Summit program over there? Or you do them
We have
here,
not-
don't you?
Yes, and we have not talked about Spain yet because I haven't made that commitment till, yeah.
Well, what about, where are you doing yours here? in the United
Probably
States?
in Phoenix, and I'm also going to be helping with another one that's being done in southern Arizona.
Uh-huh. One thing I love about Phoenix, I was there for part of the National Speakers Association. And my friend, I think you met her, Sherry Muller, her family lived there, and so we were going from Tucson to there in Passing the Mountains. Where were we going there? Tucson to where? Phoenix.
Phoenix.
Yeah, Phoenix.
Right.
And I looked around and I said, "Look, Sherry, there's Purple Mountain Majesty." I never knew where that sentence came from. It's there in Arizona. It was so beautiful. They were purple. You have to see Dr. Paula Fellingham's jacket today. They were that color. Really
Yes.
beautiful. And I never knew, but the way the sunlight hits the mountains and so forth, it was just beautiful. And you are just beautiful, and I thank you, and I thank Gary for coming to join us, and you and Paula encouraging him and me to be a part of thewinonline.com, and also, she has several websites, but I think if we go to that one.
The Win Online has links to all of the programs,
Yes.
right? that are
Except
available.
yours, and it's Dolores, Dolores.
SERIGHT.
Like I see
dot
right,
com.
but only one E.
Only one E.
SERIGHT.com.
.com.
And what a joy to be around this lady with fourth-stage cancer, and she's the funnest person you'd want to meet. And I'm so happy that she came to be with us. And thank you, Gary, for being a part of the organization also. And we're glad you joined us. If you'd like a copy of her DVD, just let us know. I'm Bonnie Libhart, and bless your heart for watching.